Welcome to our Witness webinar, Confidence, Efficiency and Trust. My name is Marcelo Bezio. I'm the Marketing and Sales Support Director for the EMEA region within Cooper Surgical's Fertility Solution Division. I will be your moderator today. Thank you for dedicating time to learn more about the benefits of electronic witnessing and in particular of our witness technology and laboratory management solution. We have 4 experienced speakers that will cover the topic of electronic witnessing very holistically, from risk mitigation to the implementation of such a solution, their long-term experience, as well as future developments. You can use the chat functionality throughout the webinar to ask questions to the speakers. We will dedicate some time after each presentation so that the speakers will be able to answer hopefully all of your questions throughout the webinar. Without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our first speaker, which is Dr. Steve Troop. He will speak about risk mitigation and electronic witnessing in general. Dr. Steve Troop has a PhD in male infertility and nearly 40 years of experience in the IVF sector. He worked as scientific director for multiple large IVF clinics in the United Kingdom. He has also provided advice to regulatory bodies, among them regarding witnessing solutions. Steve was both chair and president of the UK Association of Clinical Embryologists and Clinical Scientists, called ARCS, where he received a honorary membership. Today, Steve works independently as consultant, reproductive scientist based in the UK, and he has recently been appointed as a member of the Human Fertilization Embryology Authority. Thank you very much, Steve, for joining our webinar, and we are very looking forward to your presentation.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Marcel, for that very kind introduction. Are we seeing my slides okay?
Yes.
Before I start, I must just quickly declare that I do work for Cooper Surgical from time to time on a consultancy basis, and that any opinions that I express today are my personal opinions and not necessarily those of Cooper Surgical. But I'd like to start with some good news. I think that the field that we work in is actually an extremely safe area of medicine, and I'd like to draw your attention to this paper that came out of the Boston IVF group a few years ago now, but they looked at nearly 182,000 laboratory procedures and found that in that group of laboratory procedures there were no major grade non-conformances, there were no mix-ups and no loss of gametes. And I think that this essentially describes the fact that our field is extremely safe to work in. But I'm afraid, although it doesn't happen very often, there is a persistent and serious problem in the sense that mistakes do continue to happen. And this slide shows from the year 2000 up till 2017 a number of sort of high profile mix-ups that occurred in IVF clinics around the world. And I guess what's important to note here is that these mistakes continue to happen. And yeah, you may be thinking, well, it's about time Steve updated this slide, and indeed it is, because if we look here, here's a case from just a couple of years ago, and in fact this has been in the news more recently. This was the case where in Israel, where a mix-up led to a couple giving birth to a little girl who was not biologically related to them, and the courts initially ruled that the little girl should live with the birth parents. More recently, in the last few months, the courts have now ruled, as the genetic parents have been identified, that it is in the child's best interests to live with the genetic parents. So this is legally and, gosh, emotionally extremely complicated. And this case here in California last year, where an embryo was mistakenly transferred. This embryo had been genetically tested and had been found to carry a deadly stomach cancer gene. But unfortunately, the embryo was transferred mistakenly, and this means that when the child gets to its teenage years, it's going to have to essentially have its entire stomach removed, which is very, very serious. And I do wonder whether this is the tip of the iceberg. In the UK, for example, we are extremely open about reporting incidents. Every single, even minor incident gets reported. But I understand that often for good reasons, this may not be the case in every clinic around the world. The effects of an IVF mix-up are extremely, extremely serious. There are the obvious effects on the couple, the parents and the child that's born, but indeed the extended family. It may affect that child's nationality or ethnicity, and it may even affect the child's ability to inherit from their parents. But there's also an effect on the clinic. There's a very obvious reputational effect. The clinic is seen to be a clinic that makes mistakes. There's also an effect on other patients who are having treatment or have had treatment in that clinic. You often see clinics having to set up dedicated helplines to deal with the numbers of calls that arrive at a clinic after a mix-up. And of course, there is always going to be some sort of financial issue when mix-ups occur. This varies, of course, from country to country and from the legal situations in each country and from case to case. But I would like to mention a case from 2018 where compensation of nearly €250,000 was paid to a family who had twin boys after IVF, where a random blood test revealed that the father wasn't in fact the father. And of course, there's quite an effect on staff. The embryologist who makes the mistake, as it were, is often very traumatized by this. And I have known these people need counselling. The whole team is affected, the profession's affected, and indeed the whole sector is affected. So I want to just touch briefly on how these mistakes arise, and my apologies to the embryologists in the audience who will understand this, of course. But I think it's worth looking at. Firstly, is it the correct patient at the egg collection at the embryo transfer? I recall a situation when I worked in a large government-funded clinic where on the same egg collection list on one day, we had two patients who not only had exactly the same name, spelt in exactly the same way, but had the same date of birth as well. So ensuring it's the correct patient is essential. Is it the correct semen sample? Often there might be a disjoint between where the semen sample is produced and its arrival at the lab. So is that chain of custody robust? Have you got the right straw? Have you got the right straw of semen out? Have you got the right straw of embryos out of storage? Are you adding the right sperm to the right eggs? And have you, at the embryo transfer, have you definitely got the correct embryos to transfer? And at all of those points in the last few slides, mistakes have been made. But there are other perhaps less obvious factors which might contribute here. For example, work areas not being cleared, people leaving dishes and tubes from the previous patient in the work area. A simple failure to follow SOPs. Embryologists are very stressed. They have a lot of work to do. And I dare say that from time to time, small corners are cut. Leaving witnessing until after the event. And this sometimes happens at weekends where perhaps gametes or embryos are placed into storage when the staff numbers are very low at the weekend, and then that witnessing is then done perhaps on the following Monday. It's less than ideal. Distraction of the second witness. It's easy to call for a witness, and that witness comes over, but of course they have other things going on in their mind. They might have other patients' names. So again, that is less than ideal. And I've also come across centres which do install electronic witnessing systems and then almost become over-reliant on them. And we need to remember, I think, that the primary witness for all of these procedures is the embryology actually doing the procedure and not the electronic witnessing system itself. That is the secondary witnessing system. And then this phenomenon known as involuntary automaticity, which some of you may have heard of. This is essentially where somebody repeatedly performs a task, and because they are performing that task over and over again, they think they're doing the task correctly. They're quite convinced they're doing the task correctly, but in fact, because of its repeated nature, they are not doing the task correctly, and that can lead to mistakes. So I'd like to take you back to, gosh, this is nearly 23 years ago now. And this was the first time I came across a mix-up in the IVF world, and this took place in a large government-funded centre in the north of England, and essentially a white couple gave birth to mixed-race twins. And this was a truly terrible time for the clinic and for the staff involved, and indeed for the sector as a whole. And you can see on this slide here that the media, the newspapers in the UK went to town, and this slide isn't even funny. It did nothing to help the situation whatsoever, and the whole sector was accused of hiding things and making mistakes all the time, which of course wasn't the case, but that's what happened. But as a direct result of this, the government commissioned an independent review, and the review was to be carried out by not by medics or scientists, but by so-called systems experts who were independent of the field. And there were many conclusions to this lengthy review, but essentially the main conclusion was that the events were caused, as it says, through a mixture of inadvertent human error, so humans were involved, and systems failure. So there was something wrong with the way that the clinic were doing the various procedures. But as a direct result of this, the regulator in the UK required that witnessing be introduced into clinics, and this became a mandatory requirement in 2002. And indeed, we now have an entire chapter in our code of practice in the UK on witnessing and assuring patient and donor identification. And we now have to witness either manually or electronically each of these 12 steps, which again the audience will recognise. Essentially, it's every point at which a mix-up could occur. Back in the day, and indeed in parts of clinic processes now, and still in some clinics, manual witnessing is the way that the witnessing is achieved. But this doesn't come without its problems. It requires additional resource. It requires a witness, essentially. It's distracting, as I've mentioned already, and it's quite time-consuming. So fortunately for us, I think, the commercial sector at the time was starting to develop electronic witnessing systems. But there was concern. There was concern within the sector and within the general public that if we start to expose embryos and sperm and eggs to barcodes and to lasers and to radio frequency tags, that there may be a danger involved in this. So the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Authority drew together an advisory group on safety and new technologies, and you can see the remit for that group there. And I was very fortunate to be asked to be a member of this group, and we spent 2 years essentially gathering evidence that the use of these technologies of RFID and barcode within an IVF lab was safe, and that there was an evidence base as far as we could gather to support this. So essentially, this led to electronic witnessing being allowed to be used in labs in the UK. But there's always going to be humans involved in this situation, and we are not particularly good at looking at things. And this slide, I think, demonstrates that. If you count the number of people in the slide, wait until they move and then count them again, you get confused. And I've seen this slide hundreds of times, and I still can't really work out how it works. So I think we have to have humans in the system to a degree, but there are always going to be problems if humans are involved in the processes. And I'd like to take you back now to when I was the scientific director of it was actually in fact the largest government funded centre in the UK, and we had a very large laboratory. We had over 20 clinical embryologists who were all fully trained, who all had in excess of 6 years experience. So the people that have generated the data I'm about to show you are not new to the field. They are qualified and highly trained embryologists. And we also had the RI witness system installed throughout our laboratories. And this slide shows the number of witness points on a monthly basis over that time period. And you can see that we are looking at somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 witness points per month being recorded by the system. And this slide shows the number of mismatch events. Now, I know that Johan will talk in more detail about the different types of mismatch events shortly, but essentially what I'm talking about here is the number of times the embryologist has gone to the incubator and got the wrong dish out and brought that dish into the work area. And you can see that happens, according to these data, somewhere in the region of 1 in every 5,000 times that they move something from an incubator to the work area. And again, going back to one of the earlier slides, I think what's interesting here is that there are no peaks. It seems to happen once, twice, 3 times a month, but it seems to happen almost every month. And I think that's an important point. And of course, RI Witness essentially stopped all 35 of those mismatch events going any further and proceeding to something much more serious. Certainly here in the UK, RI Witness is very much the preferred choice of witnessing. I think there are a couple of centres who still, a couple of small centres who still perform simple manual witnessing. And I think that there's possibly one centre that's still using barcode witnessing, but RI Witness is very much the preferred method here in the UK. I'd like to just quickly run through. I often get asked the question whether I think RFID systems are better than barcode systems, and I must say that both forms of electronic witnessing are extremely effective. But I think there are some subtle differences between the two systems, which may be of interest to the audience. Firstly, does the system operate passively? Well, RI Witness does. You simply bring the the tag attached to a dish or a tube or whatever into the work area, and the witness system recognizes it. The barcode system requires the barcode to be read by a barcode reader. So you actively have to ensure that that happens, whereas the RI witness system is working passively. You have to log into these systems a lot during the working day. And again, RI witness is very straightforward. It's a simple key fob that you touch on the reader, and it then knows who is using the system. The barcode systems are slightly more complicated, and one of them certainly recommends that you carry your mobile phone around and scan your login from that. I'm not sure how ideal that is in an IVF lab. The RI witness system can read many, many dishes. I don't know the total number of dishes it can read. Somebody this may be able to tell us that, but it can read as many dishes as there are in the work area at once. Whereas, as far as I'm aware, a barcode reader can only read one barcode at a time. So there is an efficiency aspect to RI witness there. Is line of sight required? Well, again, as I've mentioned, the RI witness system reads the dishes as they are brought into the work area. The barcode system has to be able to, the reader has to be able to see the barcode. So you'll know about checking out of a supermarket or or any sort of clothes store, for example, where you have to read the barcode at the self-checkout. And sometimes you have to move that barcode to get the reader to work. I've seen the same problem with the barcode witnessing systems. How reliable is the system? Well, they're both very reliable. But in my experience, the RI witness system is exceptionally reliable. And the number of times that a tag can't be read by the system is extremely low. And that is generally because the tag has been damaged by the embryologist as they've either peeled it off the sheet or attached it to the dish or tube. The barcode system, I think, in my experience, you do see people having to read the barcodes more than once. The RI witness systems hold more information, more written information, because the tag is separate to the label, whereas the barcode systems have the barcode on the tag, therefore can hold less written information. And I think having more written information is a good thing, and that's probably because I find it easier to read larger print, but that may be my age. The RI witness system is supplied with an extremely elaborate and effective embryology heated plate, as it's called, which has a number of different heated areas with the RI witness reader built into those into that area. So that is an added bonus, I think. Whereas the barcode systems tend to sit in your existing work areas and use your existing heated plates. And then finally, a question again that I'm sometimes asked is, well, if RFID tags are so good, why aren't they used in the cryo module? And in fact, they're not. They are. The cryo module uses barcodes in both systems. And I think the simple answer to that is that, as yet, the use of RFID tags in liquid nitrogen for long-term storage is yet to be proven over the length of time that we might want to store eggs and embryos in this country and sperm. In this country, you can store eggs now for up to 55 years, which is a long, long time. I'd just like to very briefly mention the effects of the pandemic on witnessing. And you see on the slide here, necessity is the mother of invention, which is a very famous phrase. And of course, during the pandemic, the ability to witness manually became very, very difficult. You couldn't have people in close proximity to each other, reading, as you can see in the photograph there, reading the same piece of paper, looking at the same dish. So this really required clinics to think about how they were using their electronic witnessing systems, and in fact, the use of electronic witnessing systems was recognised by a number of professional bodies around the world, ESHRA, ASRM, and here in the UK, the regulator and the British Fertility Society and the embryology professional body. And they encouraged the use of electronic witnessing systems to allow increased lone working, to allow people to be able to work on their own more effectively, to reduce the need for manual witnessing, reduce the need to be a witness, and reduce the need to wait for a witness. And although, of course, many clinics do, as it says at the bottom, do retain manual witnessing for some of the key steps, and you'll see that in some of the other talks. And of course, all of this was done without compromising safety, which was the crucial aspect to consider here. So, if anything good came out of COVID within the IVF world, then it was this increased efficiency and led by the increased use of electronic witnessing. So I'll stop there. That's been a quick overview of my experience with witnessing. But I guess in conclusion, in my opinion, I'd just like to say that electronic witnessing really is an essential component of a modern IVF lab today. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Steve, for your very clear presentation and also introduction to witnessing in general, electronic witnessing. I would like to announce we have not received any questions in the meantime, so please feel free to submit throughout the webinar through the chat function. Now I really have the pleasure to announce the second speaker, which is Johan Sterks. Johan is the quality manager of Brussels IVF. Brussels IVF is part of a university hospital. It's the largest IVF clinic in Belgium with around 10,000 cycles, fresh and cryo cycles. Johan will speak about their long-term experience using iWitness as electronic witnessing system, and also talk about its application to actually create valuable insights to run a lab. Thanks very much, Johan, for joining our webinar, and we are very curious about your presentation. Thank you. I think we cannot hear you yet, at least I cannot hear you. No. No. Cannot hear you for the moment.
You hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I will switch there. 1 second. And you see my slides moving because they look to be to freeze.
Not shared yet. We cannot see it on the screen.
1 second. Can you speak something? Say something, Marcel?
Yes.
Okay, now I hear you. So you hear me, and the slides are moving?
No, we cannot see the slides at the moment.
You don't see the slides?
No.
Okay. That's strange. But you were frozen on my PC also. That's maybe the reason.
Okay, what we could potentially do, Johan, maybe we will fix the issue. And
Yes.
shall we move to our third speaker first, which is Maria Beatrice Dal Canto. Is that okay for you, Maria Beatrice?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So, Johan, no worries. We basically just
I'm switching to my laptop then.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Okay, so I would like to announce the third speaker, which comes now in second place. Johan will fix the issue with the computer and then speak as the third speaker. So very big pleasure for me also to announce Dr. Maria Beatrice Dal Canto. She will share her personal experience of integrating our witness solution in her clinic network. Dr. Maria Beatrice Dal Canto has a master's degree in biology and a PhD in hygiene. She is a certified clinical embryologist and quality manager. Until recently, she was associate professor at the University of Milan. Today, she's a laboratory director of all Eugene IVF labs in Italy. Thank you very much, Maria Beatrice, for joining us. And please share your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for the kind invitation. It's a pleasure to be here and to share with you our experience. Okay, I try to do my best to explain you the point because usually my presentation is after John. Maybe after me, he will readjust some maybe problems that I can don't touch. Okay, so first of all, my declaration of interest. I'm a consultant for Cooper Surgical, and talking about IVF center, everybody knows that during this year, the bureaucracy for the IVF lab has been more and more important. We have strict rules regarding the total quality management system. We have to consider any risks and we have to work with a traceability system and guarantee to our patients the minimum risk and the maximum of success. And of course, the control of our job is extremely important for our patients because our patients are our customers and because the embryo is our product. And so we must work in order to avoid any adverse event or any severe adverse event. We must work without any mismatch, any cells loss, and in a very safe way. So regarding the mismatch, how we can prevent the risk of mismatch, and if happen, what we can do, which corrective action, corrective intervention we can apply. So in the real life, in an IVF process, nowadays we have to possibility. The first possibility is to apply a principle of human witnesses, or we can apply the technology by electronic witness system in order to help us to verify what we are doing. And regarding the electronic witnessing, we can now use some system RFID based or with the barcode. And so in Italy, in our center, we decide to apply the RAI witness system to help us in all the process of IVF. So I would like to start with a sort of analysis regarding the human witness principle, okay? If we want to create a robust procedure, first of all, we have to select the critical weak points in our workflow, and it's necessary to use 2 people for the checking. And moreover, it's mandatory to use 1 sample each time. So in this situation, when we analyze our workflow, our habits, our protocols in Italy, we discovered 17 critical weak points during the ICSI process. And so we decide to start with human witness control every day with minimum 2 operators, even for Saturday and Sunday, in 17 points. And of course, this is quite hard. But looking about how a machine can help us, we try to elaborate some hypotheses. And of course, this hypothesis requires a big change in the laboratory facilities, because we started to consider to buy a new machine. And new machine means new procedures. And so it's mandatory also to think about the training for all the operators, and to rewrite all the procedures, all the protocols. But at the end, analyzing this simulation process, we discovered that with an electronic machine, we could reduce the weak points from 17 to 2. And moreover, we could reduce the number of human operators, especially during Saturday and Sunday. So looking at this pro and cons, we say, okay, wait a moment, it's time to think about a big change, okay? A big change because, of course, we can save a lot of time, and we can reduce the risk of human mistakes and so on. Our preliminary evaluation arrived at a very simple point. Okay, with the human approach, we can customize our routine, but it's really time consuming. It's really distracting, because the people every moment are called to make a check. And we do not solve completely the risk of mistake, because a human mistake can be always present. And considering a machine who help us in this process, probably the machine is faster and probably require just one single operator. And of course, also the machine is customizable. We need, as a cont, of course, we have to invest a lot of money for the expensive machine, a lot of money for consumables, card, tags, a big effort in people training and in a production of new procedures. So at the end, the questions are still there. Is it true that we need an electronic witness system? It is necessary. Is it helpful? Okay, maybe it's true, but only if we are working in a very big center. Okay. If I have enough biologists, probably I don't need this system. Probably it's not necessary at all. And okay, probably this system is helpful just if in the lab the SOPs aren't present. A lot of questions, a lot of doubts. But at the end, how complex and expensive is this system? And moreover, do we have to stop the activity during the implementation of the equipment? So you can imagine 2 years ago, I was in front of all these questions. And at the end, I decided, okay, I wanted to improve at least in one center this system and verify if my doubts are only doubts because it's unknown approach, or maybe it's a real problem, okay? So in June 2022, we decided to open the introduction of witness system in Biogenesis Center located in Monza. This center is a very big center with more than 2,000 egg collection per year. And so we decide to sit down with the specialists of Cooper Surgical, and we worked a lot in order to create our specific workflow. Okay. We design this interactive map with all the biologists all together. And we decide step by step our preference. So in February 2022, we started to think about the initial proposal. April we confirm to Cooper Surgical our decision. In May, we did the installation regarding all the hardware system necessary. And in the second week of June, we did a validation process. 22 of June, we were operative 100% with the new system. In our lab, in that moment, we got 3 cabinets already with the witness floor, but the 3 cabinets were not prepared for that. And so we work 2 days to install the extra hardware system that were necessary, and just 3 days for the training of 9 biologists and be operative with the activity. So here you can see the final situation of the laminar flow. This cabinet already had the white floor, but we installed the tablet and an extra tablet here. And in other situation, you can see a very common laminar flow, a bit old, not the last one, but you can adjust the laminar flow in an easy way with the witness hardware, and you can be operative immediately, very easy, very fast, without disturbance of your habits. Here, another example about the andrology lab. We had the Mars Safety Class 2 cabinet. We just put inside the instruments of RAI witness and operative in a couple of hours. So after this first installation, we try to reconsider our questions, okay? And we say, okay, in this moment, I can say that with the witness, we had really a very short training period. And the system became, in a couple of weeks, the preferred method for the embryologists. All our doctors were so happy to have this system to assure the patient that we could work very well. And so in just 1 month after installation, the list of pro to the electronic system became longer and longer and longer. Okay, some cons are still there because the machines are expensive, and so you need a lot of money to start. And some points are still ongoing to be optimized and to be improved, but definitely after installation, my opinion changed a lot, and now I'm in favor of electronic witness instead of human control. However, we have also other IVF center in Italy, small center, not so big. And again, we arrive at one point to decide what to do with the medium center or small center. We were so happy about our first experience that we decided to improve all our labs. So here you can see the lab Eugene Modena is a medium center that runs about 400, 500 egg collection per year. And we decide to improve immediately the system. Here you can see the laminar flow. The same happened in Milan in May 2024. And in Milan, you can see our journey during the installation, okay? Because it's very easy to install the RAI system in a case system cabinet, but also in Origio cabinet. But in other different type of cabinet, here you can see an IVF deck. We had a lot of problems with the cable. However, we works very well with the Cooper surgical expert technicians in order to solve any problem that could arrive. And here you can see the mess, and after you can see the final solution, okay? You can see the starting here on the left, a lot of cables, a lot of bad situation, and finally a very good situation with the total control about the cable, about the tablet, and so on. So if you have any kind of equipment, Cooper Surgical can help you to find the right solution to improve the hardware system in order to maintain your habits, your routine, and your equipment in the best situation. Here, again, a laminar flow for andrology lab. You can see how is simple. And so we were very happy in May 2024 to have 3 IVF lab with the system installed. And we decide to go on, never stop. So we decide, okay, now we are enough confident with the system to improve the systems in order to control also the pre-genetic test, the PGT procedures in our lab. And I would like to thank you so much, Adriana Testini, that is the Italian specialist for witness, that arrived in our lab and in a couple of days design with us the workflow of the system in order to cover the PGT procedures, trained our patients, and make us able to do PGT under witness control in very few times. The last center where we installed the system was Eugene Taranto, July 2024. I would like to show you these pictures because this is a wonderful laminar flow from Japan. is one of the last update laminar flow. Wonderful, really wonderful, but but it was very difficult to install the system in that laminar flow. Here you can see case system cabinet, very easy. They already has the white floor. We did the magnetic tablet at the wall, very easy. Again, for the andrology lab, from the andrology lab, together the technician will decide I would like the tablet inside on the left or outside on the top. You can choose, you can adapt all what you want. But in this laminar flow, we noted a lot of problem. Because the microscope was very low. The wall of the cabinet wasn't magnetic. Really was complicated to decide, for instance, where we can put the tablet. In this position was not good because we cannot see the monitor behind. In that position, maybe food works well, but we don't like so much to have the tablet very far. So at the end, we optimize everything, and here you can see the final solution. We anchorate the tablet to the microscope instead of in the wall. We put the white floor on the top, and now everything is working perfectly without any problem. And this is what I consider very much because Cooper Surgical supported us at the maximum level to customize all our equipment and to support us in order to facilitate everything. Okay, and now we have 4 IVF centers with the system operative 100% also for PGT. And we expect that the system can help us to prevent, of course, mismatch. But we expect also to receive a very positive reaction from our patients, because we can demonstrate to our patient that we are working at the maximum level of control. I expect to standardize very well the activity in any center, because now 4 centers are doing exactly the same procedures. And using the IQ and using the KPI analysis, we will able to have in real time a big help from the system to analyze the KPI that we want. We do not try yet the traceability system of materials. I hope to do that in the next year. And I cannot give you any feedback on this, but probably will be very useful also for us to use this optional that the system can give us. And as already said, I'm really happy to have the possibility to collaborate with Cooper Surgical in any case, also as proactive action, okay? Maybe we can ask to Cooper Surgical to help us to adapt, to adjust, to improve some step that we need in our routine. And I'm quite sure that Cooper Surgical will be the right team to support us. And my presentation now is finished. So I don't know if you want to do the question now or later. Or...
Yes, so thank you very much, Maria Beatrice, for taking us on your journey and very openly also share what your thoughts were, what your potential barriers were in actually integrating our witness in your clinic network. We have one question, actually. I will just read quickly the question aloud from Bodor. What did you see? What benefits did you see with the witnessing system besides decreasing mismatch errors? So apart from actually avoiding mismatches, where do you see the benefits of the R witness system?
For sure, the benefit is the standardization of the procedure. Because nowadays in 4 different centers from north to south of Italy, different teams, they are doing the same step, the same movement, the same procedure, strictly the same. Because when you have to do an egg collection, you have a 3-step, and these 3 steps are for everybody. Okay, and so standardization for sure. And regarding the mismatch, okay, mismatch is a very big event, but sometimes the system shows us some minor mistakes that are not mismatch, but the witness can also say, hey, you are not doing exactly what you design. So revise everything. It's a sort of warning, kindly remind of something that is not so critical, but is better, don't do that.
Yes, thank you very much, Maria Beatrice, for your comment. In the interest of time, we will proceed with our speakers. So the next speakers will have 15 minutes max for their presentations. Very happy now to announce Johan Sterks, again, quality manager of Brussels IVF. He will certainly also focus a lot on data insight and how to actually use data insight that are generated by the R witness systems to further improve the lab management. So thanks very much, Johan, for joining us. And I'm 100% sure now technically everything works fine. And the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Marcel. I hope everything works fine. I think so. You hear me, that's okay. So I will start. Good afternoon, everybody. Small disclosure, we are working together with Cooper for this. So actually, we are using the RI witness system already since 2011, which is 13 years and soon 14 years. And it's fully integrated in every step of every procedure that we are doing. We have a lot of operators who are involved, so it's quite a big use that we are doing here. This is a slide to present our clinic. We are Brussels IVF. We are a single center in Brussels performing OR, which are oocyte retrievals, almost more than 5,700 cycles last year. Frozen embryotrans, more than 5,000. So you see, we have a big activity with a big group. We have also our accreditations there, and we are a licensed tissue bank in Belgium. When it comes to IVF, I think you'll all agree that you are living or working in a very dangerous zone. It's a complex situation, a process for every patient during several days. We have a lot of different kind of biological material that we have to combine during ICSI and so on. We have to replace the correct embryos to the correct woman and so on. So risk management is very important in an IVF lab. And when risk management, the main topic is there that we have to be sure that we identify our samples always 100% correctly. This is a slide to show what we are doing to reduce or minimize any kind of risk. That's in many steps we identify our patients. Inside the lab, we have a double identification system where we label all our samples or all our tubes with the name of the patient and with a unique identifier, which is actually a cycle number that we give to every treatment for the patients. So we label all our resident tubes, and we only use disposable materials, which are single use. And also very important, we only work one sample or one patient in one place and in one time. So there's a complete separation of gametes and embryos during the process. A lot of steps have double witnessing by second operator. It was written there at every critical step. And this is actually already a good practice in IVF, I think. But on top of this, we also added then the electronic identification system many times ago, because like my colleagues here already said that those second operators, they have some weaknesses when you only use them or when you even don't use a second operator to check some steps. What is RI witness? Actually, it's based on the RFID tags, radio frequency identification tags. They come in different shapes, so they will fit any kind of tubes and dishes that you're using now today in your lab. Those tags, you'll add them to your dishes, but you also still need to add another kind of labeling. It's not only the tag that you put, you also have to label them written by a pencil or with a printed label. Our witness also uses that ID cards. And for the cryo samples, the straws, you can print out of the system some labels with a barcode. And that's actually the only place within the system that you are really using barcodes to identify some samples. The tags, they have to be readable, and that's done. That's with a white, how you say it, reader that you build in, or you can build it on top of your systems. And this is actually a photo of my ICSI station. So you see also that you are doing actually ICSI inside the laminar flow. And this is one workstation for one person who can do here one ICSI at that moment. The white reader is also at the same time my heating stage for that spots to work with oocyte. And outside the laminar flow, we put them outside. We have our tablets for the software. So yeah, you have the hardware, we have the software. The software, we have them on the tablets, but on your PC, you have also a different kind of software needed, which is the RI Manager. And that's actually the database, a complete database of all the patients that you will that you'll manage. And also every step that you do inside the lab will be traceable in here because everything is recorded. You can make reports and so on from every cycle. So it's all traceable in here. There are also some other options there, some administrative things in there and so on. Also, in that manager program, you have to define your procedures. The witness point diagram is actually a copy paste of what you're step by step doing inside your lab. You can draw it yourself, and you can also adjust it and edit at any time to make it better if you want, whenever you want. Those witness points, you can also mark them like here, they have a different color in green. It means that there at that moment, we also want the system to ask for a double operator to come and check and confirm the action that will be recorded over there. So that's also optional. Some pictures of my lab. We have here on the right side my colleague doing oocyte retrieval. Behind this gray thingy, we have the operating theater where the doctor will be with the patients. The tubes of the oocytes will be passed through the hatch here. We have also a card reader behind in the operator theater who is directly connected to this workstation, so that card, who is the indication of that patient who is currently there, will be shown here on the tablet of my colleague, where she can select her OPU, that's the oocyte collection. I confirm it, and my dish where I put my oocytes in will be labeled with the name corresponding to the ID cards. That's oocyte retrieval, and then at the end we have the embryo transfer. That's the same thing. The patient ID card will be placed in the reader with the patients over there. We bring in the embryo culture dish on the reader, and we can confirm that the embryo transfer can go on. So that's traced. I have here a slide to demonstrate our process, what we are doing with an ICSI, with embryo transfer on day 3, for instance. At the start, you have your reception of the sperm sample, and the oocytes will come in. Those things are entry points, and that's the main thing that needs to be correct. If you make an error here, everything else will be incorrect. So it's very important here that everything goes correctly. The sperm reception, we receive them together with the patient, and the patient will confirm that his sample, that the identification on his sample will be correct. At oocyte retrieval, we have that patient ID card, and that patient ID card is actually prepared the day before oocyte collection with the second operator. 2 operators will make every card that we are using. Inside the lab, we have also a paper lab file where we also put an RFID label on it, and it's actually also controlled with the second operator. That's all preparations for the upcoming egg collections. And then when we have received the sperm in the lab, we can just continue. Another operator will do the complete process together with confirmation of the patient lab file. Well, that's the next slide. And after we collected the oocytes, someone can start stripping the oocyte, can do ICSI, and put the embryos, oocytes back in culture. And actually, all those steps, we can do it by a single person without double check. And it's all traced back in the RI witness system. So for us, it means that we are actually saving a lot of time, a lot of avoiding of always calling a second operator, because our witness will cover us at any moment in those procedures. Our witness can work independently with an operator, but at certain points, like I said just before, the ID card, the lab file needs to be verified by a second operator. We also still have double operators to check procedures where we move embryos. When you move a PGT embryo into a straw, somebody needs to check that you are really taking the correct embryo number. And that's where we have additional second operators. But that's something that you can choose yourself also. If you don't want to do this because you think it's not necessary, you can also just define it in your witness pointogram. A very important part of the system is actually your prevention, the mismatch, as it is called by everyone. So it really prevents you before you do make a real mistake. It's very important because the system will warn you. It will make you stop continuing your process. It was last year, I've published a paper with our experience with some data on mismatches, for instance. And the slides that I will show you now will contain those figures. So what I'm right here. So we are creating mismatches. It can be by accident, and actually that's the total number of mismatches. You will see the trends here in the blue line. But you have a lot of mismatches which are just accidents by touching the reader with multiple patient files, for instance, And actually, you're not really doing something wrong there. It's just because the reader notices you are there. So we say that the most important mismatches are the critical ones, where you really have the intention to treat, where you really took the wrong oocytes out of your incubator for transfer, where you took the wrong sperm sample when you want to start your ICSI and so on. Those are the critical mismatches where you really have the intention to treat something. And see the orange evolution it's actually very low. And as I wrote in the paper, it corresponds with one critical mismatch every 4 months over this 10-year period. Those figures correspond a bit with other publications also. Next to the mismatches, you also have the administrator assigns, which is also very important, I believe. Administrator assigns are a bit like the help button on your PC. Because sometimes an operator has chosen an incorrect witness point. So it blocks you in your process of the witness point diagram. That's not so wrong because the ID will be passed on to the next tube. But when your operator forgets to use your RI witness system, because he will forget to really click on your tablet, okay, I'm doing now this ICSI action, or when he really forgets to put even a tag on your tube or this, he is not using the system correctly, and you're losing there your traceability for the next step. So that's very important to monitor this and to keep this very, very low. And that's also something I'm saying here, that only by using any kind of electronic system correctly, you can avoid potential mix-up. And here is an example from my paper where we saw that at andrology was actually the main, or where we had the highest number of critical mismatches and administrator assigns, because over time there was an increase of workload, and we only have multiple stations to do the sperm preparation, but the number of workstations did not increase, and also it was a very hard task for our staff, because the numbers of samples was increasing, and you see the figures were increasing. But also at sperm preparation, you have a lot of moving in and out of the flows. We have quite a big work laminar cabinets, and the actual reader of the sperm reader, which is still the oldest version here on the picture, is quite small. So you have a lot of space next to the reader. It's also very important to always work on the reader to really confirm that you are working with the correct patients. And what we have noticed was at andrology that there was, over time, people started to blind witnessing, not really reading the pot. They thought they had the correct sperm pot and bringing it in the reader, and it was giving mismatches because they trust the system, but they also were speeding up their work and so on. So then, as a reaction, when we saw this, we changed the way we plan our sperm samples, and then the evolution is here that we decrease the number of mismatches and also the administrator assigns at our andrology. 2023 is not there, but it showed also the decreasing trends over here. And then I come to this RI Witness IQ tool, because for us, we are generating a lot of data. I know who did what, when, and where at every time, because it's recorded. But yeah, it's by generating so much data. The trouble is, how do you look to your data? So Cooper designed an easy tool to just filter with a lot of filters to just have an easy access to all those data inside RI Witness. This is actually a screenshot of my dashboard showing it. I made this today. So today we have already 95,000 witness points. We will end up more than 100,000 by the end of the year. So a lot of data is there. With the filters, you can continue looking more in deep. And this is actually a slide of some mismatch events. You can also see which operator was involved, what workstation, and so on. And actually, mark them here. Those events were actually two in the same period. Two sperm samples, two ICSIs who had intention to start with the wrong sperm sample. And now my PC is going. Okay, I think I'm back. So having a system like this.
Johan, you're not sharing your presentation.
But you hear me still, huh?
I do.
Okay. I think I'm sharing now. Yes.
Yes, you do.
So having a system like this remains, even after all those years, still relevant, and it's very important for us to prevent any kind of mistake. So another example, what is possible with IQ tool is just monitor the timings of your procedures. I have here a comparison because in August this year we moved the standard density gradient preparation of sperm samples to the Zymote, left and right. We know what's the average timing to prepare those samples. It's a bit the same. You see the evolutions here, decreasing number with density gradients, increasing numbers for the Zymote. The overall timing remains a bit the same, but actually we are now having one operator less at Android to prepare all those samples. So that's an advantage for us here. I'm also using the system to monitor our compliance because it's a requirement for my ISO accreditation, where we say that every operator to remain competent for a procedure has to perform a certain number of procedures per year. And you see here that we have some operators doing one or two procedures, which is not sufficient to remain competent. And that's something I check with every kind of procedure then. And a final slide to conclude, and where we first started using this system as just witnessing for samples, it became much more and more for us now. It helped us to standardize our procedures, efficiency increased, traceability, very important, is guaranteed at all time. Risk of misidentification is reduced. I monitor all the processes and our staff performances with it, and the level of confidence is also only increased. But keep in mind that you have to use it always in a correct way, like I wrote it there. And then the final slide, when I ask my colleagues, do we like having this system or any kind of witnessing system actually? So yes, of course, we cannot work without it anymore. That's very clear to us. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Johan, and definitely very interesting also to learn from a center that is using it for such a long time, and definitely also using a lot of the data inside to further improve the lab management. Now, unfortunately, as a last speaker, there's a limited time, but nonetheless, we are looking forward to your presentation. Liz Gold is our Global Product Manager for the R-Witness technology. She's responsible to further develop actually the technology platform, and she will give us a brief glimpse actually in the future development of the system. Thanks very much, Liz, for sharing your presentation. It's still in presenter mode at the moment, and hopefully be in the standard mode very soon. Yes, perfect. Thanks.
Okay, great. Okay, time is of the essence, so I'm going to quickly introduce myself. My name is Liz Williams-Golder. I'm the Senior Product Manager. And first of all, I'm just going to do a very, very quick poll because I want to hear from you. So hopefully this will work. So have you ever been concerned about making a mistake during a patient's IVF treatment? So we'll just have a very quick, okay, let's see, great. Couple more seconds. Right, just as time is the essence, here we go. So, interestingly, 90% of you basically said yes, you have been concerned. Thank you. And now, next question. Let me a second. Can I ask, do you think demands on IVF lab staff and clinics are increasing? Yeah, this is really interesting. I think everybody is agreeing here. Oh, one person says no. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I think the overwhelming result is yes, that demands are increasing. So we said 96% of you felt that that was the case. And finally, one last thought from you all. And please click on any of these. What challenges are you facing? Is it managing more patients? Is it challenges with staff, as in training, shortages, retention, the greater expectation of patients, changing demand, as in looking at customization? Or are we looking at the standardization across different clinic groups or consolidation, best practice sharing, or the increased demands from regulation, as in reporting and auditing requirements? Okay, thank you for that. So we had, and again, I think really what's quite interesting there is staffing is a big challenge for you. Demands, as in dealing with increased cycle numbers, again, is a challenge, and also the regulatory issues are a challenge. Okay, thank you very much. So let's move quickly on. So wouldn't it be wonderful if we could really look into a crystal ball and see exactly what the future will hold for us, and being able to understand the steps we need to take to have a brighter, more positive and efficient future, and be in a better position. So we've seen dramatic changes in ART practice over the last 10 years, as we've heard, the addition of and advancements of technology, increased adoption of new and diverse treatment options, the subsequent rise in the number of processes in every IVF cycle. And as a result, operation of the IVF lab has become increasingly complex. And we know that with increased complexity comes increased risk. And these risks may continue to grow as our processes and our approaches evolve in the future. So, as the poll showed, that well over 90%, 96% of you were concerned about making mistakes. And 99% of you agreed that the demands of the IVF lab staff and clinics were increasing. And many of you felt that obviously there were challenges with retaining and training staff, also dealing with more patients, and looking at the regulatory requirements out there. So things are becoming more and more, much harder. So the ambition is to have the technological tools, such as our Eyewitness, that not only safeguard samples, but also provide the means to optimize each patient cycle through the collection and aggregation of data, which could help to achieve the ultimate goal of increased outcomes. We see that we at Cooper Surgical see that fact-based lab management will play an important role, and the ability to collect, collate, and analyze data will throw up new insights. We've already heard from our other speakers how they're using the data to improve and update their SOPs to mitigate against risks. So this data will not only help to direct improvements in processes or the use of resources, but also lead to efficiencies and potential cost savings. So it's all about being in control and having the right tools at hand to assist the many data sets. And I see that you can divide the data into 3 types to have that holistic view of the IVF cycle. There's the chain of identity, ID, the chain of custody, and the chain of condition. So we want and will increasingly need to track all the key ID information within and outside the lab, whatever the variables. And with RI Witness, you can now not only track number of oocytes, but also the embryos through the cycle. It's configurable to manage different patient scenarios, including egg and sperm donations. And having our dedicated R&D resources means that we, through collaboration with our customers, have been able to determine new types of patient configurations and how we can adapt the system to meet these changing needs. So it tracks each process step within the lab and offers the ability to move samples through the lab process. We're looking to increase the range of tracking in the future, giving greater integrity to the chain of identity. And in doing so, we will be able to help reduce the manual work related to donors and donations, for example, and also the risk of transcription errors. So with our latest RI Witness software updates featuring embryo and biopsy tracking, you can now identify individual embryos at the point of fertilization through the culture process. It also allows you to create a unique IDs for each of the biopsy samples. And building a link between the biopsy and the embryos. And this gives greater security and transparency on receipt of the genetic testing results. And on the movement to thaw and transfer, it can warn the operator which embryos have been approved for transfer to ensure that no errors are made. So documenting the chain of custody is a regulatory requirement in many countries, and having a system like RI Witness allows you to automatically track and document what procedures are carried out, by whom, where it took place, and when. But importantly, how long the procedure took. The data provides valuable insights for individual cycles or aggregated timings across weeks, months within an individual clinic or across a clinic group. It can help to identify training needs, SOP refinements, best practice, and more. Already, the system can log when gametes and embryos are taken out of an incubator and brought into the work area, time stamping the period in the work area. Moving forward, we're looking to increase connectivity, providing data that can be used to plan, upscale, and refine procedures. With the rise in vitrification, labs are facing the challenge of cryo storage and management, and moving forward, this is an area to be addressed to support control, capacity, and resources. We're also looking ahead, thinking about optimization all the time. We're considering the requirements to manage, regulate, and monitor environmental factors, which could influence those marginal gains each lab is looking for. Building this web of data points will be critical to assist labs to achieve these gains. And another area to consider is inventory management. As Maria Beatrice is saying, you can already track those consumables that are nearing expiry date, associating consumables with and associate consumers with individual patient cycles. But potentially moving forward, we'd like to see the ability for greater stock control when levels are low, tighter management allowing reduction of wastage and efficient use of consumables. As a lab management system, RI Witness already provides the information that can determine if a work area is being underused. I know previously Johan has been able to use the data he's gained to identify one of his work areas that was not being optimally used, and they were able to therefore update it and increase capacity. So this could potentially help you increase your cycle numbers, identify equipment issues. But we want it to do more. Through greater connectivity, it could raise not just mismatch alarms, but also those associated with equipment failure or servicing requirements. So spreading, connecting the network of data nodes will give greater visibility in a manageable and practical way for those leading the lab. And in the future, we're looking to create a comprehensive digital ecosystem, and that will have a positive impact on how you can run an IVF lab. And I just wanted to quickly circle back onto the RI Witness IQ solution. And as Peter Drucker stated, you can't manage what you don't measure. So it's, as we've heard from Johan, what's exciting, we already have RI Witness IQ. It's being used effectively by many clinics to improve fact-based lab management. The data gathered from each witness point by RI Witness is pushed up to the cloud server, where RI Witness IQ and an analytical tool provides customizable reports, allowing the lab manager, quality director, whoever in the lab, to look, analyze, and compare key data points. It has the reporting functionality that we've discussed already, and it can report not only on witness points, but also consumable use. So the customizable dashboard provides all the information you require quickly and easily. It helps reduce administrative burden, the time to collect the data, the time to convert it into usable Excel spreadsheets is presented in an easy fashion for you able to digest. And then you'll be able to determine if SOPs are being followed, if there are any deviations that could require equipment servicing and staff training, the need for greater standardization or the like. You can track performance timings for different procedures across a range of time periods, providing an oversight on capacity, scalability, and performance metrics. As recent papers have identified, such as the 2023 paper from Amsterdam University Medical Center, time intervals between procedures can affect outcomes. And with RI Witness IQ, you're able to review time intervals between associated different procedure steps, providing greater visibility and being able to identify outliers within timing data that, again, could impact your outcomes. So I know that was a very, very quick run through of where we're looking to move in the future. But in summary, data and the comprehensive use of the insights it can provide will really determine how we, together, can advance fertility care in the future. And we're really looking forward to working with you to make this dream a reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz. Thank you very much to all of the participants for actually staying with us to the end of the webinar. Unfortunately, it took a little bit longer, but I hope it was very insightful. A big thank you to all our speakers for their really clear presentations. And of course, if you have questions related to the RI Witness technology, our commercial team is able to support you. If you have technical questions, we also have special function called equipment sales managers and witness applications specialists that can support you. We are here actually to answer your questions. Thank you very much again, and we hope to see you soon in one of another CooperSurgical webinar. Thank you and have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.